some more upstairs, we can bring them down. Just let me know, and then we can take care of that. Welcome to ColaSec. It's the addition of love.
Why is everybody hating on my background? Why?
I'm not hating on it. It's impressive.
We love it.
Can we kick him out yet?
It's a foreign concept.
If we haven't done that yet, we will never kick him out. Adam Twitty is missing in action tonight. Apparently, he's chasing down network ghosts with a flamethrower. He may be at it most of the night. He may be here midway through. He may just stop at home on his way and never venture back out. But I'm Jeff Lang. I'm one of the co-organizers. We have Corey and Josh here. Howdy. If you don't know us, that's probably a good thing. Actually, we don't have a pen and a piece of paper. We have a lot of new faces. If you're not on our distribution list or you're not on our Slack channel, come see one of us a little later this evening in one of our breaks maybe, and we can look at either getting your email address or, well, getting your email address and getting you hooked up with those. It's a fairly low distribution list. We don't really want to go out and spam people with things, but we try and send stuff that's topical to the security community, as well as things that are going on that we're working with. So come see us. If you're partaking in adult beverages, please wear a wristband.
Josh is handing out wristbands, not checking IDs.
He's not carding. If we do actually are able to give CPE credits for trainings that we do here, tonight would be one of those. We've got a good agenda coming up, which has its own slide, so I won't ruin that yet. But come see us again, because we'll get your name, we'll get the information that you would need for the CPE certificate, and we can get them printed out, and probably to you the next meeting. But we do offer that, and we do have that available. So if you're looking for that and need it, a lot of things you can do up to about 12 of your CPEs at a community level. So we can be part of that if you would like.
Talk about the Slack channel. So we do have a Slack channel as well. If you're interested in that sort of thing, that's a little more active than the email group. Let me know, or you can go to colasec.slack.com to see that. I believe it's still invite only, right?
Yes.
If I'm right. So once again, see us during the intermission here in a little bit. We'll get you added to that. We've already said armband, CPEs, the raffle. We'll go over it.
We have a bunch of books up here. If anybody is interested in getting in on a raffle, it's a way that we try and raise a little bit of money for ColaSec to pay for the wonderful sandwiches and pizzas and beers and the wonderful new microphone that we have finally gotten.
Not using Jeff's anymore.
Even though Adam is not here, we would not be pestering him about buying cables.
Lest we not forget the HDMI cable that we now have. We have 2 of them now. So,
if you were here last month, we gave Adam a very hard time with it. But no, it's just a little way for us to try and put a little bit of money back into the organization so we can continue doing that. What did we say, $1 for a raffle?
Sure.
So at the break, we will do that.
Yep.
And
Always messing up my animation.
well, you don't copy and paste that.
So I'll hit Soda City Battlegrounds. We've had 2 meetups of this pretty recently. We've got Hypervisor. Well, I guess we can do an update on that. Let me just say.
Soda City.
Soda City Battleground. One right now, and nobody's proofreading anything apparently. So Soda City Battleground. Our next meetup of that is going to be on March 1st at Witty Octopus. If you know where that is. If you don't, there's the address. There's the gym that's right beside it, isn't there? There's a gym right there.
No, it used to be there. It's closed. It's now a dance studio.
Okay. See, I don't keep up with gyms. Anyway, so 404 Pendleton Street, though.
If you need directions or anything, either email us or post it in the Slack channel. You can get there.
Yeah, we usually send out a reminder about it too. So
Yes.
Or, you know, what is Soda City Battlegrounds?
So if you wait one slide, Corey's going to tell you.
we'll go over it.
Oh my gosh.
No, see, we do this. We do this though every time.
Yes.
We start talking about it here, and then we get to the slide on it. Oh yeah, we already did that.
I need to move this. That's what I need to do. All right. Besides,
Greenville.
Yeah.
It's coming up March 10th.
Mhm.
I still have not heard back from them about my ticket, so I don't know if I can just give it to somebody else, but apparently they're not going to refund it. So, so if anybody wants to go, I have a ticket. They can pretend to be me. You want to go?
Who's it through? Who's supplying the tickets?
It was through B-Sides Greenville. It was through their
They're not using a ticketing service.
Eventbrite, yes.
You can transfer it. You just have to log in and transfer your details to whoever's email you want it to go to.
Okay,
Yep, too easy.
we'll talk then.
That's all.
It's the 10th, but I mean, it's $20 and it goes to support a really good effort, and really good people who are trying to do something. What I hate is that they rescheduled it and they told people to contact them and they give refunds, because I would think that would open up tickets so that other people could go. And I even asked if we could just transfer them, and they were like crickets. So I'm glad that we can do a transfer and that other people can go, because anyway, it's the 10th. It should be a good event. It's in Greenville, and hopefully everybody enjoys. We also have the next Linux users group, second Tuesday of the month.
Oh, you too. You will see back with the video.
Thanks, Corey.
yeah, I'm trying to check on our video.
It's at the public library. Ben,
Yes.
do we have a topic for next month yet? And it's too soon to tell.
It's tentatively scheduled to talk about Git. It's going to be Mahai, but it's he already gave that presentation here, so a lot of you are already seeing it. But if you haven't seen it, come to the Linux user group, and we're going to talk about all kinds of things.
Slide, please.
All right.
So, Soda City Battlegrounds.
Yeah. So Soda City Battlegrounds is a kind of a playground for red and blue teamers. So what we've done is we've collected a bunch of server grade hardware, and you can kind of see the rack in the back. We've been putting that hardware in, trying to kind of get it up and running. Once again, the end goal is to provide a playground for red and blue teamers. So the blue team side will have like a fake enterprise environment set up that they can mess around in, and then we'll have a kind of a photonet, a fake internet for the red teamers to come in and attack. I need to send out some details, collect people who want to be in which group, and kind of talk about scheduling for that, because I think I had a pretty aggressive schedule set up, but I got to get all those details worked out. It's kind of a very basic, quick overview.
The March 1, we should probably start installing some operating systems and things, making sure it all works out.
So we have 6 servers up and running right now. Is that? Let's say right there. Yep, 6 servers configured and ready to roll. We were working on getting network set up, so we still got to work out some network details, I think. So if it's anybody, it's open to anybody. If you have no experience with server hardware, network, whatever, please, we want you to come. If you're very experienced, we need you there to help us out. So like I said, anybody who wants to come and be part of it.
And Kirk mentioned on his way in that he had spoken to a professor over at Benedict, and he was very interested in what we're doing and wants some details and information.
Okay.
So maybe if you guys can transfer that during break, we can do that. And then I also have somebody who wants to maybe donate some.
Okay, cool, definitely. Yeah, and we are still taking donations. RAM is at a premium. Storage space, we're okay with for now. I'm not going to turn down anything though. And if you have any old servers, we'll of course take those. If you want to know a little bit more information, go to colasec.org/SCBG, and that'll kind of get you to a front page. I try to update the blog, not too regularly. And there's also a place where you can sign up and get on the list to be on the red blue team.
Any particular kind of RAM you're looking for?
Yes.
Bigger the better.
We have a lot of 1 gig memory.
I've got an 8 gig DDR3 stick for desktop if you guys need it.
Most of this
It's not gonna work
is
for us, is it?
server RAM. We can give it a shot, but
Okay.
Yeah, most of them are Dell PowerEdge.
19, 15, 29, 50?
Yeah, 19 series and 28. 29.
We have a feeling that they might not be vulnerable to smell him.
They're not that bad.
I mean, they're offline right now, so you know. But anyway, if you're interested, let me know, or let one of the co-organizers know. We can get you signed up. Like I said, March 1st is going to be our next meetup at Witty Octopus, and we'll start about. We were able to get there about 6:37ish, kind of like we do here, and we ran until I think they closed at 9 or 10. Is that a Thursday? I think we're trying to do this on
Thursday
Thursdays.
because that's what we did the last 2 times. Was on a Thursday. But if we
Thursday.
find that people can come on Wednesday but not Thursday, then we very much are open to changing that.
Yeah, we had to keep Adam from scheduling this again this past week because we just he did one week and then it was successful, and then we did it the next week and was like, just hold on a second. So
Too much success.
right. So
Have to spread that out.
any more questions about SCBG? No? Okay. Hey, Josh gets to talk now.
OSINT time. Again, my name is Josh. I do stuff with OSINT. I'm also a digital forensics analyst and a private investigator professionally. So I like to talk about OSINT, sometimes encryption, sometimes forensics on my little slides here. I talked last month about the SANS OSINT training, and it got its final dates and location for the first run. It is $3,100 price, which if you know SANS courses, that's actually a deal.
Is that SANS fire?
No. Can't remember which one it is.
Okay.
It's not fire. But yeah, Micah Hoffman is the author. I've helped him review a lot of his material when he was finalizing it. And it's an outstanding 5 days of really in-depth process for open source intelligence. And then day 6 is capture the flag, where you practice everything that you learned. And he just released the picture of his challenge coin, which is the Princess Bride theme. That's the Fire Swamp Rat. Pretty awesome. So if I had to guess, that's probably the first Princess Bride challenge coin ever. So pretty neat. One more slide for some more OSINT. Version 6 of Mike Lozel's Open Source Intelligence Technique book just came out at the beginning of the month. If you go on Amazon, I think it's somewhere around $40, but it's been fluctuating with like a 10% off thing. He kept asking me about my Facebook research because he wanted to put me in it. So I'm pretty pumped up about that. If you get your hands on that book, check out page 114. Read about
Paragraph 7.
what I've been working on. I had a lot of fun doing that stuff, and I was like super geek when you were asking me to put it through. So I'm pimping the book for him a little bit.
Oh, I know.
It is a great resource though to have on your shelf. You can try to read it front to back, and you'll come out really smart on digging stuff up online. But I find that if I run into a challenge and I'm working on something online, I grab that thing, flip to the index, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that tool. And he's got them indexed out, by category, different social media, different public records. And he's got a bunch of the big compiled resource websites like the OSINT framework and all those good ones in there too. So definitely check that out if you're in open source intelligence. It's one of the best guides out there. And the last version, I think, is on the table for raffle. Version 5, but definitely worthwhile for dollar raffle.
I wanted to tell you, downstairs on the table, there's a digital forensics conference in Myrtle Beach that happens.
Techno security.
No security?
Yes.
There is there's a discount, 30% off code from SC Cyber. They have it on a flyer downstairs.
Yes.
So if anybody's interested, it's not the least expensive conference you'll ever go to. So the 30% off is probably something everybody would love.
It's a pretty solid conference. I've been the last 2 years. I know I've seen some of you guys out there. It's a good time. So if you're into forensics and you can get out there, check it out. If you deal with any of the vendors, send them a little, hey, I like this conference idea, and see if they can maybe hit you up with a pass, because I've gone.
Can I add, if you don't mind? So we've been, since the last 5 years, we've been going to Techno Conference. It's billed as our best venue of the year. And we do things like DEF CON and Black Hat and FlowCon and SmooCon, and we do those things. But the networking ability at the technical conference, it just brings people from around the world that are in one space. So if you want to do forensics, if you want to understand what tools are coming out, how things work, that technical conference is badass. And I'll tell you, Jennifer Salvadori runs that conference. And if you reach out and you're real nice to her, she might give you a free pass. She gives me dozens of them every year. And I'll tell you, it's expensive, but there's been best bang for your buck that I've seen in any conference I've been to.
And the exhibit hall that they have with all some of the up and new coming technology, and then just networking and being able to see maybe I could use these guys in my future. Even just getting on email lists for some of the actual upcoming cybersecurity and networking. It's something you don't really want to miss if you get a chance to go. You got plenty of time to spend in all of your different sessions and hearing people talk. The exhibit hall is going to be an additional bang for your buck that you just can't get anywhere else.
Highly recommend.
There you go.
Something?
So last week we had the ColaLug, the Linux users group, over at the library. We simulcast with the Upstate Linux users group is what they're technically called.
Upstate Carolina.
Yes. And a gentleman named Zach, I think.
Zach Underwood. Yep.
Zach Underwood presented on a product that he built and put together and is using at a number of conferences that he's providing network access. And so basically he built a little Raspberry Pi box with a few antennas to capture Wi-Fi management packets, and then wrote a bunch of Python scripts behind the scenes, parse that information so that he could find out what kind of devices were being used, what model of the devices were being used, what OSs they were, what types of wireless networking they supported. And basically his idea is that I can start to aggregate, and then I can look, and if I set up this conference, a multi-day conference, and nobody's using this spectrum of Wi-Fi, then why should I provide it? Why don't I take those resources and use them somewhere where it's oversaturated? And maybe I can, make this network grow to meet the needs of what's actually happening real time. And so he did a lot of interesting stuff. He found a lot of interesting details about the types of devices and the things that were there only from management packets. So that's all he was grabbing. He wasn't getting any data. He wasn't doing anything along those lines. It was just all those management packets that he was seeing. And it's just this wealth of information he was pulling from it. And there were a number of people that were there, both up in the upstate here, that were like, hey, that's some great security tool stuff. If we could see that, now we can correlate and actually find out exactly what kind of device maybe made that call. So, maybe the user agent on it is a iPhone, but we also have other data on that IP address at that time that says, yeah, it was in fact an iPhone. So it was a really neat, a good talk. Ben, is that on YouTube?
Sadly, no. He's gonna give that presentation again, and I'll capture it next time.
But it was some good information. It was really neat. If anybody is interested in it, post to the group, because I've got his GitHub page with all of his stuff and his description and everything, and we can get that out to you, or see us at the break and send it out. But it was a really good little presentation.
News bites. Anybody have any news bites they want to discuss?
The Equifax breach, those larger than they reported.
Of course it was.
A lot, is what they said. Oh yeah, really. Yeah, well, they didn't give a lot of details. They just said, hey, it turns out it might have been bigger than we thought it was.
Like Yahoo big? Or?
Like Yahoo big.
Nice.
IRA indictments.
Yes.
Ooh, check my holes here.
Do you have any other details?
Mueller just indicted 12 Russian nationals from in the oligarch who controls the 13 Internet Research Agency, the troll farm. So it's an interesting development.
And the Department of Justice document for that has the names and some of the LLCs and stuff. And then you can want to do some OSINT on some of those groups, you can do it. It's all out there still.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, also if you use Splunk and use their cloud instance or like their hosted managed version, they had a breach just here recently where apparently some data got deleted for some customers. So They didn't notify you about it.
We have Ben.
Everybody hear about the FedEx hack where they lost thousands of records, which is probably going to be millions in about 6 months.
Fantastic. But was it a database attack?
They acquired a company, and the company had an unsecured S3 bucket that had a whole bunch of information in there, and so thousands of people are running for the hills right now.
There was a hospital out in Greenfield, Indiana.
Yeah.
Called Hancock Hospital. They were taking down the pen and paper for a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
And I just thought in the industry, if anybody's in the health industry, you can realize how scary that would be.
I worked in the health industry for 2 weeks. It was horrifying. I kid you not. I could probably hack into their system right now with one hand tied behind my back and no real security expertise.
Well, your credential was probably still there.
Probably true. And the fact that they use the same temporary password for everyone who forgets their password.
Yes,
and
yes.
everyone forgets their password.
So can I get some IP addresses?
The interesting one was hospital. The attackers had Bitcoin, and if y'all remember, a couple weeks ago, Bitcoin dropped, and they actually demanded it. And the next day, Bitcoin price drops. The hospital was like, yeah, we're good.
That's awesome.
That's one way.
Anybody?
Yeah, Snapchat got hacked again.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I think it only affects 50,000 users that they're saying.
That's all that content for their users.
One has to ask.
Why?
Well,
We know why.
Snapchat got hacked, and does it matter?
Yeah.
No. I mean, passwords do, but content.
I mean,
You don't-
possibly.
That's not how you share passwords. You're not taking snaps of them and sending them. Like,
Anybody get that character on their Apple device recently?
Oh, that one was fun.
Was that Prince? Telugu Unicode character crashing iOS devices.
Yeah. Down to restore mode.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's. I know some people that bricked some devices on it. So.
Is that from India, the symbol?
Is that what they passed yesterday?
Yeah, iOS pushed out 11.2.6 should fix it.
Yeah.
Emergency update. Everybody that's current with like Verizon's probably on 2.5, so go out there and grab it.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it last night.
Yeah.
Speaking of coin mining or Bitcoins and coin mining, we've been dealing for the last month with people going and visiting exploit kit sites that have had the coin miner installed, which is the JavaScript based. Hey, I'm going to take your browser and so yeah, it's been fun and it's really interesting. And you tell people and they're like, well, but my antivirus didn't find anything. Well, it wouldn't because it's JavaScript in the browser. But that's the same campaign that 2 weeks ago hit Google Ad Space and YouTube ads. So for a weekend, they had corrupted ads that were sending people out to coin mining.
Which would be normal. You bring up JavaScript and the sites, and I know that the Spectre and Meltdown, that attack. Did you guys see that there's research last week showed that there was another attack vector for these processors?
I saw something about it, but I didn't see any details about it.
Yeah,
I know that they were saying they were going to be releasing more information, and it may have been that they were able to stifle them a little bit so that they could maybe work on the patches this time instead of getting announced a week ahead of time and a week ahead of when their patches were due to be out.
Only for Torvalds to just basically say your patches suck.
Yeah. No, they kind of did. But
Patches crashed my computer. I'm still recovering data.
yeah, things like that. It's a huge huge thing, and it impacts companies when they least expect. Any other news?
Yeah, I got a question. So, what's the blockchain? There, browsing an article and password moving out, changing over to blockchain. What was that?
I'm gonna do a Bitcoin. That's all I know.
There was So there, I saw a meme today that was somebody explaining, well, there's this block and then there's this chain, and they get together and they make a blockchain. I've done all the research, and it was kind of funny because honestly, you will talk to a lot of people who are doing research in it, and they get much more sophisticated in their answer. But that's what it all boils down to when you reduce what they're telling you. Distributed ledger is a good way of looking at it. Every time you make a transaction, so every time that computer computes the next Bitcoin or part of that Bitcoin, it actually writes it to a global chain. And then that chain becomes approved by everybody else around it. And then it becomes the next block in that chain. And so you're continually adding to the bit chain, and you're continually having it verified and approved and then distributed to everybody else who is participating in that. And so it's this interesting journal. It tells you everything that happened, every person who approved it, didn't approve it, read it, listened to it, and it's a very laid out and very distinct chain of how this happened. And so basically it verifies that, yeah, you are the person who mined this coin and have this coin, or you bought this Bitcoin and now it's registered in that. And it's diverse. It's diverse across everybody who is participating, so everybody has that ledger. So you can validate that that ledger is true. So that's a very simple and very bad explanation of what it is.
I'm going with it's a block and it's a chain.
But it's interesting for financial markets because there's a lot more transparency and a lot more way for people to verify that a transaction happened in the way that it happened, the way that everybody thinks that it happened. And that gives it a certain amount of veracity and truth to it.
One more thing, those who follow the advanced persistent threats, FireEye today just put out a new APT report, APT 37, I believe. It's about Lazarus, which is North Korea's hacking group. So they just put out an updated version of their APT report about that. So for those of y'all who follow that one, I've not had a chance to try to go download it and read it yet.
Thanks for letting us know.
Did North Korea really do that big hack last year, the one against
Sony?
Sony. They did Sony. They've done a bunch of others. They've done a Sony hack. They stole a bunch of money from a couple banks in Europe, and they've also done and the one of the latest things with Bitcoin. Actually, they're the big theft of Bitcoin. They're actually the ones they believe they're the ones who were the ones behind that the theft of Bitcoin.
I meant the big, actually, I said on the big ransomware attack, the one that was.
WannaCry.
I
can't remember if they were pushing that towards them or not. But
They did at one point. I
don't know
think
if
everybody has
confirmed.
pulled back the attribution and is waiting to see.
Okay, so.
There's a
Well,
lot
our
of
Steve Handring and she is saying that they did it. No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Aren't they operating out of Chinese hotels? Isn't that what they're supposed to be?
I can't confirm or deny that answer.
yeah, we can either confirm it or not where they operate out of.
It's an open source publishing.
Some of it.
Some of it.
Some of it. The one he mentioned is an open source.
Yeah, the
version,
APT
yes.
report is open source.
Yes.
Anyone go download it. Just go to FireEye. You can pull that report and go through it yourself. The executive summary covers the main points. If you want to actually read the whole thing, I recommend it. And the APT reports are
It's
actually
pretty
really good.
deep dive all the way down to hash values. It's worth the read.
Cool. Excellent.
So much news.
Good news.
We started with no news.
All right. Which was bad news. All right. So tonight's speakers, we're doing Shadow Defense, Introduction to IDS, IPS, and Intelligence Fusion. We have one, Mr. Ricky Chapman. Barbara Creamer, and Marquis Benton in the back. And I don't. Were you presenting as well? Did you want
No,
to
I'm not
present?
presenting.
Okay.
It's for moral support.
Okay. Good.
Next slide.
And comic relief.
Wait a minute. I'm here for that. Cool.
You can't say
Oh, you're with them. Okay, got it.
Never will you.
You got to bring your own.
Right.
Yeah.
Apparently. Cool. All right. So,
Don't travel with your own peanut gallery. You're not doing it right.
right.
That's right.
We brought him.
Did you want to mention the coupon cards?
Oh, we can. Okay, so we have a really fine steak dining establishment we love to go to, and we're trying to help the guy plus up business. He helps me out with a lot of charity events and stuff that I do, and so I brought a lot of coupon cards. They have our names on the back of them, and they're good until January 2019, which is a really long time. So if you just can't get around to going, I don't know, in this entire year, then you have until January 2019 to go. One is for $10 off the entire meal, and one is for like a free appetizer. Even if you go in, just get your free appetizer and a drink and check it out. Please go check out this restaurant. We absolutely love this place. They help us out a lot with a lot of stuff, and we're trying to get them to help us implement doing a steak, bourbon, meet and eat night, where everybody comes. Maybe some of you guys come and meet up one night. We go upstairs and we all eat steak, drink bourbon, and talk geek stuff.
Does this place have a name?
Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
So, and I've waited to the end to say this because I know you're all going to freak out. So the name of the place is actually called Carolina Strip Club.
Oh yeah.
It's not a strip club. When you think
Oh,
strip club,
New York
think
strip.
yeah, a New York strip, like a steak,
Sorry.
right? So it's a really nice steakhouse. It's right here in Columbia. It's not far from here. It's downtown on Gervais. Please come up, get as many coupons as you want. I literally just need to get rid of them.
Is that how it appears on the credit card bill?
What? Yes, it says Carolina Strip Club.
Don't swipe that
I mean, don't swipe it.
I got an ATM. Got it.
If you want them, you guys come up and get them. I have a card.
You can throw them on. You can
Yeah,
throw them on the
that
table.
works.
Is it incredibly expensive as a permanent?
It's really not that bad, depending on what you're ordering. Now, if you go in there and you're going to order a ridiculous steak and all 3 sides and some crazy stuff, then sure, it's gonna be a little pricier than probably what you're used to. But for a quality steak, it's better than a Ruth Chris. The only place I've ever been that is better than this place is Hall's Chop House. All right.
I would have matched to Del Frisco's.
It's better.
Been there. I don't know what that is.
I have.
There's one in Charlotte.
I have. It's better.
Wow, okay.
I think. Well, okay. Also,
What about Sizzler?
remember. Remember also, you have to take this lightly. It's a personal opinion. I like it better.
That's fair.
All right. So
That's why
That's
we're
all
doing
right.
these things.
We're going to take a few minutes. Everybody get a refill on a beverage and get ready to start in just about 5-10 minutes.
It's hot here. It's like
And I think they did not turn the heat off on this 80-degree day. Unfortunately, there's
you're kidding.
nothing that we can
We've
do.
got a bunch of computer people here. Let's find the thing, hack in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It's an HVAC system, right? They figured it out for Target. We should be able to do this.
So, yeah.
Cool. All right.
Where's your bathroom?
Down this hallway right here. It'll be on the right. Yeah. The door's probably open to it. All right.
Good.
Hello. How'd you go?
Thanks for coming, James. Oh, apparently Burns that's coming. If you saw this one vibrate.
And then we got all of these too.
Right.
All right.
Here's the flyer.
So, yeah. So are you on the Google Hangout? I don't know. If we can join that, that's usually how we do the screen share for the folks that are remote. That's it. So Mr. Chapman.
Adam has this whole pattern. I'm not sure how we do Oh, yeah. Because, I told Adam to no, we don't need that.
Do you need? I used to
This is how I don't have a pen and I don't have any way of writing these numbers down. They are written. That's what I think.
We got time. I can freaking run my John the Ripper through a freaking my GPU and just what only takes like 15 minutes to do the CPU. I do like in a minute and a half. Right. Was it Marquis or Marquis? Marquis.
So hopefully get my name on there. And I will have to one here. When I saw Corey walking over,
and then I get some contact information. Actually, that's probably on the website, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is. Let me get you added.
Because I'm the one that was talking about that professor from. I got to figure out what his name is. I think it was Dieter, but I got to make sure I know exactly.
What's a good email address for you?
My email is AIRK.Carlson.
C-A-R-L-S-O-N?
Yep, at att.net.
Cool. So I can, that's it.
Okay.
And if you want mine,
yeah.
So my email is Andrew Corey Grant.
One word?
Yep, C-O-R-E-Y. G-R-A-N-T at Gmail.
Okay. So I'll get that guy's contact information and contact with him because I don't know how serious he is, but they're kind of resource bound.
Works for me.
You know, I figured you guys had the server needed a little help.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good man.
Works for me. Love it. Appreciate it, man.
All right, so when I hit everything else, I would have been a little bit better about it if it
I know, well, nothing. It's the whole reason. I know it's somebody than that.
Mostly because I have to figure out how we're going to do generally we do our
I'm sorry, could you please put me on the distribution list?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
That would have been smart. Probably I really only need the first one I sliced it out to the last one. I may be sure that I have it all just in case it's
Nobody can mess it up. Hey, after 5 days, like,
There are a couple of Microsoft and there's one with a pineapple guava that is very citrus that's in there is really highlights the flavor. So if there's someone it's the yellower one, and you'll use it.
Should be you. So obviously anything on that screen.
So scroll over to your Windows VM. Scroll over to your
I can make change for a $10 bill. We're going to decide winners and then the next one is
Kind of, yeah.
My dad's thought.
But yeah, I'm excited.
Why not? We'll call it $5.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I don't know when we're going to
Some chain.
I'm also going to find a place to use it. I don't really use it.
What else can you do?
What are you looking for? Can I help you?
Yeah, if you take it to the bank, they should
I haven't heard from Marquis yet.
We do have some other stuff. Maybe somewhere. So there isn't anything that
That's so awesome.
That's fine. You win, I win.
Nothing on the wall.
I win, I win. The most common question.
Yeah, I guess my dad's
how we roll. Oh yeah.
So what is that's the URL? Put on the course.
Just make sure you maximize it. It's over in your head. Over there. All right.
So is the video what the two or anything else or just the screen?
No, just the screen. Yeah, we used to mess with the video, and we didn't really feel like it added much. And forget it. And we don't have access to that. I didn't know that was using it. We don't have
I bet you it's all Wi-Fi.
Anyway, okay, Take care.
We're ready to go.
I appreciate the beer, by the way. Oh, look, this is fantastic.
Do you guys need anything else? We're getting started a little later than we normally do. We had some great conversations. Yeah. You guys have?
All right, buddy. Y'all ready? We're going to get started here in just a second.
I'm pretty sure this was
Yeah, mine should be.
Yeah, it's terrible. You're like, where's this shit?
Yeah.
All right, family, we're gonna get it on. We're gonna get some geek time on. All right, guys, welcome, welcome. We appreciate y'all coming out. ColaSec, thanks for supporting the team. We're gonna start this out a little different.
That's only on you.
President Obama made those concerns part of our national
I did.
Slides on, guys. That's what it is. We're getting you in the mood.
Cool. It's just the first of a round of EMPs.
I heard on the NPR guy that one of the phrase cyberspace was talking about like 1983 or 84. I was like 4 years old. This guy was talking about cyberspace, and he had prescribed what that looked like to the nth degree, and it is as we perceive it today. It's fantastic. I wish I could remember his name. What they're trying to do right now is get the audio from the TV. Once we have that, hopefully it won't kill everybody's ears. So while they're figuring this out, my name is Rick Chapman. I am a cyber operations trainer. I work for the South Carolina Army National Guard. What we do is support you. We build capabilities for the governor in the event of natural disasters. So much like floods, much like hurricanes, much like tornadoes, much like fires, we also have a cyber arm that works to better the constituents of South Carolina, as well as the national level. One of South Carolina's claims to fame is we had championed cyber over the last 6 years when people really wasn't talking about it, especially at the national level. It really wasn't gaining a lot of traction or attention. So what we've done in our team is reached out through all kinds of government agencies, all kinds of national level players, and said, how do we be better? How can we be that arm that you call for when you need help? So our entire training model is train, assist, advise. That includes you, largely you. The constituents of South Carolina have a right to protection. When you call 911, you get a police officer, right? Hopefully. Depending on what. But so should your corporate entity, if that corporate entity is deemed critical by the governor's office. So we know there's 16 sectors of critical infrastructure. We know that there's a big buzzword around that already. We know that there's a heightened sense of security because of all the news we just talked about today. All those things y'all throw out there has an impact on corporate America, on our mom and pop stores. How many of you would agree that our kids are our biggest risk factor? Yes, sir. Huge. I have a 16-year-old that knows what YouTube is, and he likes to play. My 11-year-old pushes every button, and he don't even know why he's pushing it. You would think that, given my profession, that he would be smarter. No, not at all. Not at all. I akin that to the adage that people that have mechanics should have the most badass cars, right? It should be souped up, can do 0 to 1,000 in 10 seconds, whatever. Well, that doesn't really work out that way. We don't always get that. So what we're going to bring here, if this, No video?
Advantage
All right.
without video. I'm sorry.
So what that video was really intended to do was to show you who we are as a national government. What is it that your taxpayer dollars are paying for, and how does that relate to this business? What it really entails is it goes from back in the day when President Obama signed the PPA. It said we need to make this special. We need to do something. Let's act. That funneled down to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all the way down to the combatant commands, and then it funneled down into each command element and said, what can we do? How do we grow this capability? Well, how many of you think that it's easy to grow a cyber warrior? How many of you think it's cheap? Yeah.
Sure as hell.
So you heard earlier, $3,100 for that SANS course. That is a steal. Steal.
It's a cheap SANS course.
We are now paying $7,100 a soldier to go out and do SANS certifications. Ridiculous. And that's not their paying allowance or their travel. That is just the course itself. When I started with SANS 6 years ago, it was $3,300. It was amenable. We could manage that. It's not like that anymore. That bucket's open. People realize now what's going on. So who we are is we're you. We're in your community. We live in your community. We work in your community. We work largely for you. The National Guard is made up of, we use this adage, weekend warriors. So 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, they put on a uniform and they come and they train, or they put on that armor and they go to war for you. Well, they are you. They work in your businesses. They are the fires, the managers, the guy that's flipping burgers. Okay? So the National Guard is everywhere. They're very prevalent. What we're doing in cyber today echoes a national level effort to try to raise the overall awareness and security of our constituents in the state. What uniquely South Carolina brings is we have an element I make sure that those individuals can put on that rucksack, they can grab that weapon, and they can go downrange and kill people. That's our job. And conversely to cyber, we need to fire those cyber bullets. We engage in those cyber knife fights to make sure that the enemy does not have the upper hand on us. So you guys, within that we work on. That can be at the state level, it can be at the county level, hell, it might even be just at a critical sector level, say gas or energy level, right? So if Dana or Duke Energy or one of those guys come under attack and they need to surge, they can pick that phone up and call the governor's office, and the governor can activate their cyber unit, and here we are. So that's who we are and what we do. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves and tell you what they do.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Barbara Kramer, and I've been doing intelligence analysis for the Guard for 5 years now. That didn't include until the most recent 2 years cyber analysis. So as an analyst, what I do is I come in and a regular battlefield, right? We're going to see a bunch of that today. I'm going to show you how we really look at cyber as a battlefield instead of just a traditional battlefield. You think soldiers with guns, right? Walking around in the desert with Afghans or Iranians or whatever have you. And how we keep our soldiers safe on the ground with all the intelligence that we collect from sources that we have. I had to take that knowledge and apply it to an extremely different, as you can imagine, warfare area, i.e. cyber. That being said, we had to change our mindset. We don't think in guns and bullets anymore. We think in ones and zeros, which if you're going from a traditional soldier standpoint, it's a little bit harder. Got 2 years experience doing cyber threat analysis with the National Guard. Regularly full-time, I do personnel security management, so if you want to talk security clearances, I'm right here. Otherwise, just going to do some fun-loving, enjoy meeting all you guys tonight, talk about some cyber analytics. All right.
My name is Marquis. I've been an intel analyst for the National Guard for about 8 years now. So for the last 5 years of that have been cyber intel analysis. I also do criminal intelligence analysis for a sheriff's office in northern South Carolina. Just like she said, coming into this field wasn't necessarily the easiest thing. I can probably speak in reverse for you guys. Whenever you're trying to explain something to somebody and you're speaking to them and they look at you like that's what an intelligence analyst's job is for our team, is to be that middle person, to be the one translating the geek speak into normal people speak, so everybody can talk the same language and everybody can understand each other.
So the way this presentation works, guys, this is not a high-end presentation. This is one of 4 presentations. It's the lowest presentation that we have that we give to people so that we can orient a traditional analyst to our battlefield. So some of the concepts, if you're high speed, you might be bored with. I think when we get to their part, you're going to go, wow, okay, that's how the Army does it. That's cool. The follow-on presentations we do, it gets a whole lot deeper. It's into those ones and zeros, really deep geek speak, and we can go as deep as you want. Our team is riddled with the expertise as the nth degree. So our exposure level is really high, but not knowing the audience or understanding where everyone's skill set is, I didn't want to come in and start spewing geek speak and nobody understand what I'm saying. So we gauge this to start here, and if we're asked to come back, we'll present at other more appropriate levels as necessary. This class is interactive. So this presentation is meant to engage you. It's meant to inform you, but it also requires your participation. Barbara has some goodie bag stuff that she'll throw to you when you answer some questions. So please step up. If you have questions, stop. Hey, Rick, stop. I need to ask this. I don't know what you're talking about. Or, hey, you know what? That's cool, but I want to add to. Please add to. That's the value of this networking that you bring into ColaSec. Is everyone has a unique perspective. You have different skill sets and different experiences. Bring that out. Let's talk about it. Let's use that to everyone's advantage. We got a young man back here in the corner who is getting an awesome opportunity, thanks to that for doing this, awesome opportunity to expose him to an amazing group of people. And who knows, he could be one of our next data scientists or something. Who knows? So let's do what we can to help the team. So this is how we partner. This is what we do. Part of cyber in South Carolina, especially with the National Guard, is partnership development. That's exactly what you're doing right now. You are taking the skill sets and the experiences and exposure from everyone in this room, and wrapping your arms around each other over beer and pizza. God bless you. and we're creating a networking group, and we're talking about stuff. I think you mentioned, what y'all mentioned earlier in the news bites, some stuff I hadn't heard before, and I like to stay plugged in, but I didn't know that. I'm breaking your floor. I don't know what's up there. Maybe I'm fat. I don't know. Here's the people that we partner with. These are the people that we have influence of and influence from. This is where I get my knowledge and information from. This is where a lot of our threat feeds come from. This is where we do a lot of our digging in and we're figuring out what does our community need. We have people on our team that are dedicated to partner development that goes out into these industries and shakes hands, kiss babies, hugs everybody up. My name is, let's do this. We bring that knowledge back, we wrap it around a program, and we execute. It's very similar to what you do in your world. How many of you guys have an outrageous training budget in your companies that allows you to go out and do some really cool stuff? We can't say who he works for. Okay, he wasn't here when y'all brought that up, so we're not going to say who he works for.
Which,
just don't even ask. I don't want to do that. So, in partner development, let me make it clear that we're just as much for the community as we are in the community. So we value your opinion. Well, what I want to leave here today, what I hope this team leaves here today, is with your feedback. You say, Rick, that was just crazy, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Or, hey, I like what you did, but you could have done this better. Or, you know what, if you'd added this piece, this was kind of relevant. This presentation we gave to the Aiken County Sheriff's Office and the Solicitor's Seventh Circuit Court, whoever they are. They wanted some geek training. I came out and give something based on their audience, and we presented this lesson to them. They loved it. Thought it was amazing. You may not think it's so amazing, but I want to know, because I want to know who you are so that the next time we come back around, as we get more involved in this group, we know what our audience looks like. How many of you have seen Richard Clark's quotes? Brilliant. This right here hits me pretty hard, because I'm a coffee guy. And I'm that food kid that goes out to Starbucks and spends half a paycheck every 2 weeks. And I love that stuff. But this is absolutely true. How many of you agree with this? All of you? How many of you disagree with that? Okay. That means you're experienced. That means you know what you're talking about. This is what we find when we go out and assess organizations. Still today in 2018, we don't have the emphasis in cybersecurity that we need. I don't know how much more you need to know about, how many more headlines you need to read before you realize my humble, immature opinion, because I am not at your level. A lot of you guys, I'm not there. But I firmly believe that our power is in our people. It is not in our tools. It is not in our platforms. Those same products might look great, they're sexy, but if you don't have an analyst on the back end, somebody that's reading that code, understanding the ins and outs, you're doing your corporation a disjustice. And what we've done historically is we've tried to throw money at this problem instead of training our people. And I think that's one of our fallacies. It's a flaw, and I think it's catching up with us. When you see the headlines and you look at these Fortune 5 companies with all of the infrastructure in the world, and they're still burning down, where's the problem? What's the common denominator? I personally believe it's our people. We have to invest in our people. Next. So this map here, escape, yeah, swipe. Y'all have seen this. I'm sure you all have. If you haven't, she'll throw whatever's current going on right there. What I want to show you is what is the state of the world today. Now, clearly, I can't get anything past you guys. You know what this is. This is a honeypot. These are networks set up to capture traffic, to get indicators and warnings, and try to develop or derive TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures of the adversary to try to see what's going on with them. And of course, over my LTE is sucking. But what this just indicates or illustrates for you is that every second of every day we're being attacked. Every minute of every day, there's something going on. And there are organizations like ThreatCloud. I think this is, who did he work for? Who did Gresham work for?
Which one? He's worked for like 80 people.
Anyway, whoever he worked for.
He worked for McAfee. And
I think this was a McAfee product.
Else, yeah.
But it just illustrates to a common person that there are attacks going on. This is a global problem. And it gives you a little bit of stuff in there to tell you kind of what or where. Now, this is kind of small, and I don't know if our Google Cloud guys can expand that and see that. I hope you can. If not, the link's up there in the address bar. I look at this, and I use it as a focal point to just say, hey, this stuff's real. It's going on. Now, yes, this is kind of one of those sexy things people do to illustrate a point. I can't tell you that this is legitimate, true-to-life attacks going on right now. What I can tell you is that what they're reporting is real. This stuff happens. These attacks over that port and that protocol from that IP address, from that country space, that stuff is going on. Because that stuff is going on, I have a job. So thanks. Appreciate you too. Most of you have a job. Could be. Could be.
Not enough attacks coming from China.
Now, I'm that geek that will watch that, and I'm just amazed. And my eyeballs bug out. I want to bleed from the eyes watching that because I take so much from it. And then I remember that it's a honeypot. It's meant as a focal point. It's not really true to life right now. So, and some of that could be recorded and replayed and all. So you get it. But the point is the threat is real. Now, all of you work in this industry, I'm assuming, maybe Little Man's not quite there yet, but you get there. Appreciate you being here. But all of you work here. All of you understand. You wouldn't be a part of this group if you didn't have a vested interest in what we're talking about. So because you have a vested interest, I can say with all assurance that you know what I'm talking about, and you have realized this in some way, whether that's personal experience, or maybe through corporate policy. Maybe you guys are finally getting out on the forefront and saying, you know what, we're not going to be the victim. We're going to do something about it. And what I appreciate is you all coming into this organization, bringing your skill sets together and saying, you know what, we're going to do this together. Special shout out to Ben. Ben was one of my mentors growing up. When I was this 20-something guy coming up, didn't know what I could do. I couldn't even spell my own name. This guy took me under his wing for a while and showed me what IT was. I hadn't seen him in 10 years at least. It was fantastic to see him. So good have been.
Were you this short when you was 20?
I was that short, yes. All right, so let's dig in a little bit. We've all heard of defense in depth. We all understand what this means. Somebody give me an example of what policy or procedure could we use as a defensive measure in a corporate environment?
Stick.
Stick?
Anything from
This one? Okay.
Oh.
Give me another one. Absolutely. So one of those logical policies that we use, they say group policy, something like that. Yep. What's another really good one that hopefully you guys are doing before everybody gets on your network? EDAs, except for use policy. Oh, absolutely.
I don't know who said it first.
Oh, absolutely.
TFA.
What is that?
Two-factor authentication.
Okay, that works too. So what we're talking about is the way we approach security is not a one-size-fits-all. That high-speed carbon black application that you just bought and spent about $30 million on, I'm exaggerating, but I heard it. So that's not going to solve your problems. That's not the only thing in your network that is going to keep the bad guy out.
So ironically enough, you mentioned carbon black, and I just so happened to be on a threat feed that one of my analysts sent to me for uploading a program you're going to see later tonight. And in it, Carbon Black had 5 vulnerability postings for just this past week.
Wait a minute. So a security appliance has vulnerabilities?
Yep.
Oh no.
Like the Cisco
Yes.
ASA as well?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like it. So,
Go out there and
I don't know if
take
that's an
your certificates.
oxymoron or what, but there we go. So, but who finds these vulnerabilities?
The analysts.
People. People find it. People go, hey, you know what? That don't look right. That's probably not good. Now, I am not one of those people because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I will tell you that it amazes me that people can sit and just watch code go by and go, oh shit, that's bad. Excuse me, I apologize. I get frustrated sometimes. I get excited about this stuff. What about the physical layer? What's a physical defense that we use in our environment? Say, well, we're at the network layer. What do we do in network?
Key cards prevent access.
Sure, that's physical.
RSA code.
Say again?
RSA code.
Tokens, absolutely. So two-factor authentication stuff as well. Well, okay. What about locks and
Fences.
fences, right? Pit bulls. Pit bulls. Might be expensive, but
We'll have the lock picking adventure either June or July most likely.
oh my God, I love you so bad. That's awesome. Let's do that. I'm excited.
So
We're not gonna be here.
You won't be here.
Oh, well, yeah. My bad. We're deploying. So that's physical. So perimeter. Let's get into the geek mode. What kind of perimeter defenses do we have? Primary firewall, right? How many of you are firewall guru? This is your thing. Ben, who else does firewalls?
A guru.
Not a guru, but you play in it? All right. I will tell you that a PF-Sense firewall smoked me. Smoked me. I have all the Cisco things you can imagine, but when I got into PF-Sense, my brain just imploded. I don't know why. It should have been simple. It was meant to be simple, but it's blew my mind. So there are firewalls there. What's some other perimeter defenses in our network that we use?
RBACs.
RBACs, absolute role-based authentication. Absolutely. What else?
Intrusion detection systems.
IDS. That's the main topic of this beyond the intel stuff. Absolutely. So part of intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. Hopefully you know the difference. If you don't, when I get there, I'll explain it. So intrusion detection is an art. Forensics. Where do you go? Where's my forensics guy? He's in the back. Josh is in the back. All right. So,
you've been back in.
hey Josh, we're talking forensics as a perimeter defense. I don't know if you concur or not concur. My thought is this. Forensics gives you a level of view that you don't just get by being an operator on a keyboard. Okay? There are so many holes inside operating systems. I had no idea until I did the SANS forensics course. And I looked at it, I'm like, man, I thought I knew something about computers. I was completely wrong. The guts of this thing has so many things out there. Would you believe, like shell bags, for example? How cool are shell bags? If you haven't seen what shell bags are, I ask you to Google that. No, don't Google. That might not be safe. We'll see.
Okay.
But there's so many
Don't
things.
click on images.
There's so much stuff inside of, say, just for example, Windows box. And I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. Tracking how long I had that view in focus. That blew my mind. I had no idea that anybody would want that down, right? Or when you try to opt out of Windows 10 and you don't really get to opt out because they're still going to send down no matter what you say. Some of that is your user statistics. That statistics could be how long was I on this web page? On that web page, what was in focus? What was I doing?
No more beer.
Beer does it. It's kind of here. Let's move on. So we get the point, right? You have internal network stuff. You have host-based. What's a host-based defense? Firewall. Windows firewall or IP table, something like that. What's another really good one that's popular but losing popularity? HBS can work too. AV. So AV is arguable, right? Is it really valuable anymore? Is it really relevant? Who knows? You know, we have ways to obfuscate signatures nowadays, so it doesn't matter. And then data. What is the primary data tool used for defense? Encryption. Booyah. Absolutely. Throw that man the thing.
You throw the man.
Throw him a thing.
I'm not a
Who was the man?
He's not good at throwing.
I don't throw. Who's the man?
All right. Don't hit anybody.
I'll let you handle that. Okay. So encryption. Well, how many flavors of encryption are out there?
We're stuck on
All of them. At least.
All of them. Yeah. That's the great answer, actually. So, do any of you work in an environment where you create your own custom encryption? Thank God. Thank God. Don't do this. This is a bad idea. Okay, don't do this. So encryption, while it is really super sexy and cool, what I'm saying is go with what Go with what the community has vetted. That's why open source is so amazing. You have millions of people banging away on something to tell you what's right and wrong. Go with what we know. All right. That's the bottom line. Next. All right. Dear to my heart, how many of you snort? Love me some snort. How many of you run a security onion?
Well, wait, hang on, back up. How many of you know what security onion and snort are?
Ooh.
Okay, so not everybody.
All right, my heart's about to come out my chest. Who does not know what security onion is?
There you go.
Beautiful. Okay, so gentlemen, Doug Burks created this distro called Security Onion a year ago, and it is an amazing tool. It aggregates 127 different tool sets. It gives you a platform to do intrusion detection. Not popular, but you can turn it into an IPS. He does not support that, but it can be done. I've seen it. Pretty sexy.
It's an NS.
What's that?
It's an NS.
NSA, that was security manager. Yep, absolutely. So my primary tool is Security Onion. It's free. It's open source. It aggregates tools that are open source and free. There is a plethora of knowledge behind it to tell you how to use it, what to do, what tuning means, how do you get the best bang out of it. I will tell you because I've seen it firsthand. There are 7 Fortune 100 companies in South Carolina that use Security Onion as their primary intrusion detection tool. Because the geeks behind that know what they're doing. It's amazing. I hope one day to bring these experts into this group so that you guys can meet them, and then y'all can do all the cool geek talk. For me, I primarily use Snort. Now, I'm not a Suricata fan. I think it's only because I didn't get into it. I was introduced to Snort and it just worked, so I just kept with that. So I don't mean to offend anyone that might be a fan of some other type IDS tools. But for me, this is what I'm looking for. You can go today, download Security Onion. It's literally 3 minutes to install, and you're up and running. It is beautiful. It'll take you 5 minutes to tune it, and everybody that knows Linux understands everything's a file. So you just save some configs, hit save, and the world makes sense again. It's beautiful. I encourage you, if this guy, redheaded kid from Augusta, Georgia, can do it, you can do it too. Next. So part of this class is I introduce analysts to what is IDS, what is IPS, how does it work for you. Marquis, give me an example of what indicators you need from me as a geek guy to do your job.
Where something came from, where something went to, what's it doing, is it supposed to be talking to, what it's talking to, is there any data being pulled? We can probably go with this all day.
Absolutely. So hash values, file locations, whatever we can derive TTPs from, because in the military, we care about attribution. We want to know what the adversary is doing and who they are. That helps us predict what they might be doing next. So if I see this, and this has been a common practice, I can predict based on historical events that I might also find this thing over here in this place. So that predictive analysis is where we really want to go. I think predictive analysis is the crown jewel of the future. I don't know if it's just smoke and mirrors, it might be, but that's where we want to go. If I can say with some type of certainty that our adversary is going to do X on this day, that keeps me left of boot. That's important. My bad. You got this. All right. So what I want to make sure the analysts understand is how to write a snort rule. How many of you have ever had to do this? Beautiful. Okay, for those of you that haven't, here's the formula. It's very simple. I don't math. Thank God there was no math in this. Otherwise, I would not be in this job. I'd have been fired a long time ago. And after
You
this,
do
I
have
might
to add 1 to your SID.
have to have 1 to your SID because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right.
Well, no, because you've already got that SID skill.
Oh, right. True that. Yeah, don't use that one. That was taken.
I do the math for him, don't worry about it.
He has an analyst for that. Okay.
So super simple, guys. Do you know what you're looking for? Do you know what event is expected? Probably not, right? Now, we do have heuristics, right? Behavior-based stuff. We have other ways. But in Snort, it's looking for a very finite signature. Now, this is the same problem AV has, right? AV only knows what it knows. It can't predict things. And if you don't put it in there, it doesn't know what's coming. What's the tool we use to obfuscate files so that it evades signatures? Bell. So I got a guy on our team that just swears by Bell. Thinks it's the best thing in the world. And he's one of our chief arguers about AV is dead and we don't need it anymore. There's some logical thought processes behind that. I get it. But it's still better than nothing, right? It's better to have, at least you get the script kiddies out, the people that are reusing old code, stuff that's already been vetted in the world. So we get that. So AV is still valuable in some spaces. But understanding what signatures are and what are you looking for is valuable to an analyst, because if we get a TCP that says this file will be dropped at this location on this time. Here is the hash value of that file because someone else in the world saw it and reported it. Well, I can create a signature looking for that value, right? And I can deploy that across my enterprise using what? I mean, if you got enough sensors deployed, absolutely. If you got them in all your checkpoints, sure, you can do that. Well, depending on how your enterprise is laid out, you have some SIEM products that you can use that are constantly monitoring. We have host-based sensors like OSEC, which is I'm just a fan of open source. So OSEC sensors that might be on every host, reporting back any changes to critical file structures. So if I'm dropping something in a known location, that will report back. Well, it can give me the data, and security again aggregates all that. It says, "Hey, Rick, you got a problem, man. You probably should look here." And I go, "Hey, let's do this." I walk over, look, and then I save the world. And I look really, really sexy. Not that I did anything, but I look really sexy. Next. So here's that trade-off. I'm gonna give you a minute to read that.
I wasn't a pilot.
You was not a pilot. Thank you. Now, I've done IT. I've got almost 20 years in IT, and I thought I knew what I was doing. Then I went into cyber and realized I had to relearn everything I ever thought I knew because it's a completely different discipline. This guy right here was one of my mentors in IT, and I wish I'd have known what he knew then 10 years ago. It would have been amazing. But this is real. This happens all the time. We take security and go, well, I don't understand the problem. I'm just going to burn it all down, and you don't have to worry about it. It's not really the point, right? You might have missed something. The next. So we have this pyramid, and this is that line between usability and security that we have issues with. Depending on who your people are that work, that's maybe depending on which area they work in. You know, if you have an information assurance manager whose responsibility is security, whether it's data security, whether it's network security, whether it's host-based security, whatever your IAM does, they may have a Nazi-esque look on things. And they may say, well, I'm going to crank this thing all the way over to security. This is all I care about. You can't log in. I don't care. Call me every time. Your help desk tickets go through the roof. Your admin calls go exponential. Your workers are beating you to death because, oh my God, they can't even breathe. Or you go the opposite, and you make things so simple and easy that we just want to care about security. It's not that big a deal. And so, yeah, all your users are gold, man. Everybody's power users are administrators, and they can do whatever they want. No issue there. Right? No problem. We see success, right? Not good. So there's this line that sweet spot where we're trying to find where the balance is. Well, would you agree? And if you don't, I would love to hear the argument that it really depends on what you're protecting. So you mentioned role-based access control. Well, there's several other models to access control. Your organization may be higher in security because of the content that it keeps. That may drive your policies that say what type of encryption you have to do, what your access controls are. Do you use 2 or 3-factor authentication? Can you log in at midnight? Can you log in at 3 o'clock in the morning? It just depends on where you really are. If you're an automotive shop and all you're really doing is punching in part data, well, maybe you don't need a whole bunch of heightened security. Username and password might work for you, depending on where you work. Now, I didn't poll everybody to see where you work, and that's not really my lane. But I would venture to bet each of you have some type of security framework that you're using. The military and the government generally use this framework. It tells us all these things that we're supposed to do. We talked about STIGs earlier. We have to STIG our systems and just their security technical implementation guide, I think is what it's called. We have to say somebody smarter than me says, do this and you'll be protected. Would you believe that every corporation in America, including those Fortune 1s that are making billions of dollars a year, probably do something similar? I bet you they get hacked too. So this again, back to people. I think that as long as somebody can click a link in an email and be on, we're going to have a problem. So if I train my users not to click that link, that's half the battle in my mind. All right. So that's how I feel about training. That's why I'm passionate about training. So do y'all understand what the security functionality ease of use kind of triangle is? It's a conundrum. And it largely, where your corporation fits, what part of this that you fit in largely determined by what you're protecting and what type of access control you're employing. That makes sense? Next. So here's some free stuff. This is the stuff I love. I live and die by. I think this is amazing. If you get a hold of these things, generally, you can have an environment that is as vetted as the open source community can make. How many of you know what Bro is? Oh man, I'm a bro. Love some Bro.
We just deployed a cluster that is monitoring 30 gig a second.
I'm not that good, but that's awesome.
I'm not saying I'm good at it. But we just did it.
So I got the pleasure of, so Bro comes from UC Berkeley back in the 80s, and I forget the guy's name that created Bro, but he's still involved in the project. The spin-off. Who? Randall Liam. So Randall Liam is the Liam Randall. He was the champion until he moved over into Capital One.
Well, he went to Critical Stack. Critical Stack got bought by Capital.
That's right. He brought that over into that. So let me tell you something about threat feeds, and I don't want to steal their thunder. Liam has given me a butt ton of threat feeds. He's got some massive projects out there right now, some cutting edge stuff. If you're not following him on Twitter, if you're not looking at him, Critical Stack is still active. If you're not in Critical Stack and subscribe to their threat feeds, man, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. They really putting their lifeblood behind this. I had the pleasure of hanging out with him for several weeks. And his whole team, some of the geeks behind this, that they maintain Bro and they keep developing this. Wild people. If I ever had an inch of what they have in their head, man, I would be dangerous.
So if you ever get to see him at a conference, he'll bring you cherry goss.
Yes.
Which is this wonderful concoction of some kind of white liquor and cherries.
It's delicious. Don't drink it dry.
They're still nice.
I had the pleasure of taking Liam and tearing him slap up. His wife called me and said, "Thanks, pal. I appreciate you." Bam! That was a win. So he's never forgot me. It was a throwback to his college days. It was awesome. So
You misspelled forgiven. Misspelled forgiven, not forgotten.
I am forgiven. I am not forgotten. Yes, she does not like me now. So please, the big takeaway on my part of this presentation is to introduce you to open source stuff. Use this stuff. I don't know what your corporate policies are, but if you can get or wiggle around into some of your decision makers to employ this stuff, it pays dividends. This stuff is brilliant, and I would argue that this is it stacks up against some of the paid services with maybe without all the bells and whistles. But if you're smart IT or you're cyber minded, you figure it out. This open source stuff is awesome. Next. Side.
Say one thing?
Yes, sir. Please.
Not only are those used or created by very smart folks, but a lot of people leverage them into since it's open source, they leverage it into their actual paid services. There are people who created devices that use Bro, and they basically give you a hardware device, and it runs everything behind the scenes. There are people who use Snort the same way. FireEye that you guys mentioned before, their Helix offering, they'll actually take their products data that they pull, the PCAPs, and they'll run it through Bro to analyze and give their analysts the insight that they use to build those APT reports. So it's not just open source, it's really used in the community, it's really used professionally.
I will tell you, Bro is a scripting language. It's a programming language that is powerful. How many of you use Python? I haven't seen much limitation in Python. I feel confident that virtually you can do anything you want in Python. Bro is very similar in its capabilities. I would ask that if you want some professional development, dig into Bro. You would be amazed at what you can glean using that. And if you can capture packets, you got 100% of the story. It is categorized. So while you get 100% of the flow, it categorizes, it chops, it slices and dices everything into an aggregated mesh that gives you some type of deliverable. It is brilliant. I love it. I swear by it. I hope somebody comes up and says, "Man, show me Bro," because I love to show you Bro. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the other corporate things that people are spending their money on. I would argue that depending on the size of your environment, this might be necessary. I think, sir, you mentioned Splunk earlier, right? So do you use Splunk in your environment?
I have in the past, but I know.
Okay, so I will tell you my experience with Splunk is that it's ridiculously expensive. it is a cost.
Correct, sir.
It is a cost beyond means. I don't get how they stay in business, but they must be doing something right. All these other services that offer very similar products, do similar things, same products, or maybe they are scripted down specifically for a unique niche market. Either way, you get a lot of the same functionality here that you do from the open source stuff.
I'd like
And if it's not in there, you know what? There's a whole bunch of forms.
of the security and
Probably
networking
somebody
division of
getting
NCSA
that
and
out.
OPI of the Bro
There's
project.
a lot of stuff out there. What's the repository you use for software? GitHub. Awesome. God bless you. So GitHub is amazing. I spend days on GitHub because there's so much stuff to pull down. I appreciate the value because I will tell you, anyone with talent, I love you. I have none. No talent whatsoever. So when I see people that are putting their lifeblood into something, I value that. And it means a lot to me that they sacrifice for that. So these are some of. But what is this for service or paid stuff really mean? This is what it looks like to me. A bunch of acronym soups, right? It's a bunch of words with things behind it that, man, you got to live in this stuff to really understand. If you're brand new to this, it's easy to get lost in this soup. I know that there was military, right? We're riddled with jargon. We're riddled with acronyms. And we just realized yesterday or the other day, I think Dan had brought up something about there was 18 definitions for the same acronym.
That was biopsy.
Just inside the military. Well, man, I've been in for almost 20 years. And you're talking about 18 ways to say the same thing, but it means something different. IT's the same way, right? We have a depending on who you are, what services you're using. It's crazy. What's the real reason? What's the real thing? That's what it's really about, guys. Really. So your value, in my humble, immature opinion, your value in this room right now in your community is your passion, drive, and motivation. You have a question, you want an answer. And instead of taking it out of your pocket and spending thousands of dollars to do something, you go to work and you figure out a better way. Mr. Linux right here, he understands this. That's what he does. All of you that dabble in that open source community, this is what you're doing. You're taking that dollar away from the man and you're applying it in a better way. Not to say that there's always the right thing, not to say there's not an application for the other stuff, but sometimes just by volume, by density, maybe by sheer size of your company, open source is a good thing. It's not gonna work. I mean, you said, where'd it go? You said 30 gig?
Yeah, 30 gig a second.
That's still pretty amazing. That's amazing. So I think we're scaling very, very well for that. But there was a time where we just couldn't ingest 30 gigs of data per second in some of the open source stuff. It just wasn't there yet. But some of our paid services allow it.
So how though, I mean, you're talking about money, I don't mean it, but I'm going to ask. And please. So in the DoD realm, because that's part of it, is how do they embrace open source? Because there are many government agencies that say, oh no, we will refuse to do this. A lot of local government especially. And they say, oh no, we can't do this. This is open source and we actually have to have a support contract. We have to have it through the state contract. We can't just buy this hardware and put some stuff on it.
Absolutely true. By and large, the answer is no.
So open source and support contract are not mutually exclusive. Red Hat has made a living off of open source plus support contract. I sell software to the U.S. government that's open source. I sell them support contract for that open source software. So these two things, as a matter of fact, half the people in the world, GPLs, use the GNU public license for stuff because they believe in the Stallman model of Nico and Bazaar, and they want to guarantee freedom through the copyleft style license. Some people do it, like let's say MySQL and Oracle, because it means that if you modify our software, you have to give it to the world, or you buy a dual license piece, which is commercially available. Red Hat dominates Linux in this space. The NSA developed their own database called Accumula, which is open source through Apache. You can go, every organization you can think of in the federal government, GSA 17 Foxtrot. You can look at NSA's open source initiatives. Remember, they brought us SE Linux. So there's huge advantages, examples of doing that, but support license plus open source are not mutually exclusive. Like that's a big, because otherwise who's going to patch it? You. So that's kind of the answer we always get. We'll use open source, and they like that, but they need a support agreement.
And that's usually the main problem for a lot of guys, right? Like, oh, well, I don't have who do I blame when things go wrong?
Stack Overflow.
Exactly. Right. That's all you got. Good luck. Have a nice day.
The internet said it would work.
I think you hit that nail on the head right there. Is we need to blame somebody when shit don't work.
Pretty much.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And remember, in DoD land, our mission might be a little different. So while I would argue with anybody that money is an issue, I don't believe in DoD land, given this last NDAA, that money, or just one of the last defense bills, that money is the issue. But by and large, we do want stuff that's been tried and true and there's support base behind it that I can reach out and touch anytime that I want. If I can touch you and I can hold you to a contract, that gives me the assurance and confidence that this stuff will work, and when it don't, you're going to fix it because I paid you. So I get that. Interestingly, we talked a lot about all of this stuff. We talked about some open source stuff. We talked about some four-page services. I'm a big fan of Bro. I'm a big fan of Security Onion for my IDS, IPS, arguably. But what are we missing here? Now read this slide good, if you can see it if I'm not in the way. What are we missing? There's one key function that I've hit on a few times that we're missing.
People.
Good night, guys.
All right.
There's this thing that just doesn't make sense. Yes. People. People. Oh my God. Give this man a thing. He needs a thing.
Show him another thing.
Yay. So people. Whoa.
We're cyber. We're not sporters.
Well, what people? What kind of people? What do these people need? What do they look like? What is their background? How do I find these people?
On the spectrum?
On the spectrum, I like it. I'm going to use that from now on.
4chan. Look on 4chan.
Oh, so, what is the warrior of the future? What does that mean? What does that look like? Is it this cat right here with the bombs and the bullets and the muscles? I wish that were me. That will never be me. This cat don't have a body for that. My girl's figure does not support that. Or is it, arguably, this cat right here in the back, right here? Now, this is always funny. It's always up for debate. But would you believe that this guy can be more effective than this guy in today's climate right now?
Absolutely.
I'm proud to say I'm a geek. I am proud to stand up and say, you know what? Give me all your ones and zeros. I'm all about it. I love knowledge. I enjoy being able to make something do something it wasn't originally intended to do. I think that's brilliant, and I think it's powerful. This cat right here, that was our warfighter. That's what we needed on the front lines in the Cold War. Is that what we're doing today? Maybe. Maybe not. But I would argue the next major war is this cat in the back right here, with his feet up and the hat backwards. Maybe he's about 180 pounds heavier. Maybe he's got a goatee. Maybe he's a pot smoker. I don't care as long as he can fire cyber bullets down range and kill my enemy. That's what I want. The Army's going to come around to my way of thinking. So let me introduce you to the next cyber war.
So we touched on a bit of what we do when we introduce ourselves as cyber intelligence analysis. And when we talk about analysis, the original term was we're going to take the guy, go back one slide for me actually. We're going to take the guy like this and tell him all the things he needs to know about his route, reconnaissance, and who he needs to avoid, or who he may need to actually talk to, and where he needs to go. And we're going to do all those things for him. And his commander.
Mostly because guy can't read.
Mostly because guy can't read. You know, no offense to anybody who was ever like an 11 Bravo, but you know what that means.
We're all 11 Bravo, right?
I like you. Okay, you can say. All right. So the problem is, we shifted, like I said, we shifted over to now we're not talking guns and bullets, but we're talking ones and zeros. And now I personally went from this guy to this guy, like real quick. And now I'm not so much talking about how I need you to look at your route reconnaissance. I'm more or less telling you, hey, we need to put some sensors on your network here, 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 and here. Or, hey, why is your firewall set up the way it is? As an analyst, I'm looking behind you as the key and saying, why are you doing the things the way you're doing? As well as I'm also looking at your threat types and to see if any types of those threats match any of the feeds that we get from advanced persistent threats or any of the threat feeds we're currently looking at next slide, please. So there are 4 major threat groups that we look at when it comes to cyber specifically. Now there are a ton more when it comes to other things like terrorism and what have you. We've all seen the news. But we're going to touch on these 4: nation state, organized crime, hacktivists, and insiders. So an insider threat, who can tell me the dangers of an insider threat just because you don't know to not click on an email.
Things of an insider threat, something disgruntled employee is a perfect example.
Yeah.
They may have intimate knowledge of your system. Like
Sure.
say, someone here had mentioned that their director of HR just fired their head IT guy of 5 years. That was basically everyone goes to them. Yeah. What happens if that IT guy decides to get super pissed, RDC into the network, and just nuke them?
So can we even also touch on the fact that insider threats don't have to be people who are technically malicious, they just don't know any better?
Yeah.
Yeah, we click on the email just like anybody else is clicking on the email. Oh my god, this Arabian prince wants to send me all this money, let's do it! How many people are in? Okay, good. I'm really happy you guys raised your hands.
I'm sorry, but you need to send me $1,000 first to get into this.
Right, see? So I don't know, speaking on insider threat, I don't know how many of you guys watch TED Talks, but the guy who talks nothing on except for how he gets back at those guys who try to scam people on TED Talks. Yeah, he's great. If you watch his TED Talks, they're phenomenal, but it's really good touch on what I'm going to talk about when it comes to insider threats. If you are not training your people to understand what it means to click on an email that may have malicious content, then they may just click on it anyway, which makes more work for who? You, all right? Okay, so first thing we talk about is training our people on our networks. So that helps with insider threats. Within that training, we also like to touch on different types of things for our analysts specifically, things like nation states. Now, what consists of a nation state specifically? Sure.
Name a country.
There you go, that's pretty much it. But what else has to be backed by that? The actual country, right? So it can't just be some random group decided to get together and say, we're going to call ourselves the Russian hackers, and nobody in Russia backs us. Okay. It helps that that the nation state is a government backed. All right. Organized crime. There's one really good example. Anybody got one?
Well, Eastern European identity.
Well, that works too. Ransomware. Usually a lot of organized crime, ransomware. Now, we've seen other of these types of threat actors use those things, but ransomware is really big with organized crime. And then hacktivists. Hacktivists like Anonymous, and there's a couple other out there, but everybody knows Anonymous, so we go with that one. They have different types of, so the basis between all of these different types of threat actors, though, is they're different. They have different types of motives. They're going after usually different types of things. Sometimes they could be similar, and their impact is going to be a little bit different from to your environment. So hit the next slide for me. All right. So we actually, we kind of gave a part of this class to some of our analysts today on, and somebody brought up, well, what about those guys who just like got started in their basement and they became really good at this stuff? So like script kiddies, and now they're actually super good at what they're doing. They don't have, as you see, they don't really have a difference, a sector here. Eventually what we've noticed in our analysis is they will fall into one of two categories, organized crime or hacktivists. Because eventually they're going to need money for what they're doing, right? They want all the new geek toys. Like everybody wants all the new geek toys.
When they grow up and they have bills to pay.
Right, when they grow up and get out of mom's basement. All right. And then hacktivists, they become part of somebody who sees their skills. They get recruited into this Anonymous, and they want to be a part of sending this message. Hacktivism is all about making sure a message gets put across. Not always they give them two hoots about who they burn down, but they will make sure their message gets across. All right, so it's all about what they're after. What's most at risk for you? For healthcare sectors, you guys are worried about PII and who's taking what medications. And now, oh my gosh, we have the, what are they called? The insulin pumps?
The Bluetooth insulin.
They have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Who decided this? But you know what that's, so what's really for is so doctors can adjust your prescription.
Yes, but doctors suck at IT.
So I just got back from a SANS course in Denver, Colorado, where I took just basic Sec 401. So nobody asked me any crazy shit. I don't know. Sorry. But I took Sec 401, and the guy was telling me about the CPAP machine that one of his people in his class was telling me about. His CPAP machine came with Wi-Fi.
Oh dear.
Wait, it gets better. His doctor decided he was gonna like turn up the thing on it one day and just see how he reacted to it and how he slept better.
Very good. Oh shit.
So we went back to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh, it's cool. We'll just turn Wi-Fi off." Oh wait, the nurse said, "No, you can't turn off the Wi-Fi because we receive updates from this CPAP machine, every week on how you're breathing and how your breathing is improving. So the doctor just goes, it's cool, just turn it on every, once a month and it'll get the updates real quick and then you can turn it off, right? Except for the fact that the doctor forgot and messed around with his dosage and how things were supposed to work and then just, did it on his own. And so he turned it on for the month and it's supposed to run at a certain pace. And all of a sudden it just was wrong again. It started running at a higher pace for him to breathe better. So doctors are controlling your CPAP machines from their offices. What does that mean? So, for anybody that works in the healthcare industry, that's kind of a scary thing.
Let's go back to the money slide. What he's about to get for that mistake.
Yeah, there you go.
No, what his estate's going to get to that.
Right.
Right.
So then we have energy data. A lot of really big one for hacktivists, of course, is payment card information. Any of the cryptocurrency is now really, really big, so they're going after your cryptocurrency. But let's not ever underestimate the idea that we can get your data from your debit cards, your credit card. Okay. Who goes and gets gas and pays inside still? Right? No, everyone wants to do that. That's 15 extra steps I have to take to inside just before I can wait in line, have the guy take my card, and then get my payment and turn the gas pump on. And then I still have to go out and pump my gas, right? We're lazy. We don't want to do that. So we slide our card. How many have been compromised from a gas station pump? Yeah. So we're still doing that. Don't think that cryptocurrency is taking away from that. SCADA controls for specific industry contractors and personnel. Those are really big systems. SCADA protects all your data. And if they have SCADA, they have your system. They have everything. They own you. All right. Next slide.
That's fine.
All right.
All right, so we talked a little bit about how intrusion detection system is a great system. We also talked about some of the things that it can and cannot do. But overall, intrusion detection is not the end-all, be-all, just because of the fact that technology, while it's programmed to do exactly what we want, humans tend to know the rules and also know how to get around the rules. There's technology to a degree until we really advanced AI and machine learning will always be outsmarted by the human element, just because the human element always wants to get around the rules and want to find ways to break the system. So, and then also, as we become more technologically advanced, especially when we talked about the CPAP system with the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, it makes humans lazy. The more technology you have, the lazier you become overall. And it also it also goes into that whole convenience versus security thing. Are you willing to be more secure and do a little extra work, or are you just going to go for convenience and say to hell with security? I just want to be able to get inside of my car just like this. So whenever we're talking about security breaches, a malicious actor can be in your network for they say on average about 205 days before someone even notices. That's 205 whole days that somebody can do whatever they want. They can go all throughout your network and they can be ready to conduct their attack before you even notice that they're in there and they're gone. And this isn't even just at any small organization. These are these big organizations that have been hacked and that have been compromised. And that's a problem. We have all this technology that we buy into and that we pump money into, and that the CEOs and your upper echelon guys think that it's going to be the fix for all your problems, and then we buy this technology and we do nothing with it. We expect that to be the end all be all. So when our techie guys say, "Hey, I need to go to this class and I need to learn more," oh no, we've got this sensor over here. It does all the work for you until the compromise happens, and then they come to you and like, "Why didn't you stop this?" What am I supposed to do, sir?
The sensor was supposed to do everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, but save your job.
That's called get it in email.
Yes.
Next slide. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the cyber kill chain. It's just one of the models that's used industry wide. We have the cyber kill chain, we have the diamond model, we have the MITRE attack cycle. All multiple ways of studying the attack, the escalation of force pretty much on a network. So if you look at the terrorist attack cycle, which is what Jordan and I pretty much base our traditional intelligence analysis on, it is very similar to the cyber kill chain. And a lot of organizations are starting to wrap their heads around the idea that they need to bring analysts in to aid the IT folks, because it's not saying that techies don't know how to do their job. It's just the fact that when a technical person gets on their keyboard, they're in their keyboard, and as soon as a problem arises, they're deep in there and they're trying to figure it out until they figure it out, no matter how long it takes. And what?
Do your diving analogy. Do your diving analogy.
Oh, that diving analogy.
That diving analogy.
So the way I describe this to my class of analysts is that, once you teach someone to dive into the depths of the ocean, going hundreds and hundreds of feet into the water, and I'm no diver, so I don't even know if that's even possible. But you teach them to go down to the depths, to the bottom of the ocean, and then you take them out of the ocean and throw them in the kiddie pool. How long do you expect them to be enthused about continuing to swim when they've done it all, and now you're saying all you can do is
only if you're swimming away from your body.
So the whole point, and he's speaking to that diving analogy because he tells it better than I do, is you got your what we call our geeks, and we say that lovingly, of course. Our geeks on our keyboards, and they've got their heads in the keyboard, on the computer, on the screen, and they don't breathe unless you tell them to, right? So our problem was, for a long time, we realized as an analyst, we walked into a room, and I'm gonna do this. So everybody put your head down like you're looking into your computer and your laptop, all right? Everybody put your head down like you're looking at your computer and your laptop.
Or just look at your phone. Take your poison.
All right, act like you're super into whatever you're doing, and I want you to ignore me, okay? Hey guys, I think it'd be really cool if we could get all our stuff together today, and we could really, okay, I want you to talk to each other and tell me what you see on. See, this is the problem we had with our geeks.
Shout out to all our teammates listening out.
This is the problem we had with our geeks, is we walked into the room as analysts and realized, why is nobody talking to each other?
We're too close to the problem.
The problem is you guys are deep down in it, and we need the information you're pulling. So that's one of the pieces is when you pull them out, we can't expect to pull you out and leave you out forever. We gotta push you back down in there. But we need you to come up for air every once in a while.
And then when we come up for air, we're like, the fish just blue.
It's like we have our techies on a fishing rod, and we just can bring them out every now and again and throw them back in. And to be fair, when we were first integrated into the team, they didn't know what to do with us, and more importantly, they didn't know how to talk to us, and we didn't know how to talk to them. So just like the analogy I used earlier, when you're trying to explain to your mom how to fix the Wi-Fi, and you're talking the way you talk, and she's like, what? So yeah, my first experience with the team, I probably had this much IT experience just to be able to talk it, and I was stuck in a room with them for 12 hours for about 2 weeks. That was a fun experience. But I mean, eventually, we learned to start talking the same language, and now the communication is better. But those are just growing pains that we had to go through, and actually getting them to speak at somebody instead of speak out loud. So a lot of the times they'll talk to themselves. They'll be looking down at the keyboard and it's like, hey, I found this up here.
But we don't know what was it.
What was it? I'm busy. Yeah, exactly. All right, so back to what I was saying is that if you look at a lot of even civilian organizations, a lot of these high-end companies are starting to include analysts to their team, and I'm not talking about they say it's an analyst, but it's really still a keyboarder. Somebody to step back and look at all this information, and unless you're military, you don't notice it. But what I've noticed when I do some of my studying is that the analysts that they're bringing into these organizations are really similar to the ones that are trained in the military, just by jargon, just by some of the techniques. Just like I said, the terrorist attack cycle and the cyber kill chain are pretty much one and the same. There was there's another model that I can't think of right now that that ties into how they conduct an attack. It'll probably
ALA. ALA.
Speak English with me.
I don't actually know what it stands for. I just always call it ALA.
Next
It's in
slide.
Hive. Sorry.
It's all good. Next slide. So, what do we as intelligence analysts bring to security operations? Like we said, we bring a first off we bring an objective view, but we bring a far off view. So we have different sections in our security team. We have the networking team, we have the systems team, we have hardware teams, we have all these different teams, and everybody knows their lanes and they're dug deep inside of their lane. It's our job to understand all the lanes from a high level view, just enough that we can talk and translate and plug what's going on into the network lane over into the systems lane and vice versa, and come back and show whoever's running our team, say, here, this is what's happening everywhere, and it's time for you to make a decision on what course of action you want to take as for defending this network. So the trade-off in technical versus traditional analysts, we kind of already went through that a little bit. The technical guys, you are doing your job. You're finding the bad guys, you're finding the bad stuff, and you are remedying those actions however possible. For the traditional analysts, we are collecting all of that information from you and throwing out what may not be important, or more along the lines pushing it to the side because we might need it later on, and trying to determine, going back to those threat actors that Jordan talked about, trying to differentiate what kind of enemy actor is operating on the network so we can kind of justify and figure out what they're going after so we can stop them before they get to us. Just like Ricky said, going left of the boom, lock them out before they steal that information and your company's slandered all over the news by two weeks from now.
This is me. So the whole point of this, we've touched on it once before, is the predictive analysis piece. I don't know how many of you do any analysis. Actually, how many of you do any analysis? Right, you. You're mine. Anyway, so the point of analysis, though, is the fact that we have to take actions that have already happened and figure out why, usually. In the world of, boots on the ground in the desert, we've been able to take that predictive analysis, take the indicators and signs and warnings, and make them make sense to be able to predict what the enemy is going to do next. Called a course of action, an enemy course of action. The problem, though, is that doesn't exist for cyber. So staying left of that boom right now, that's a really hard thing for us because our threat actors are currently continuously evolving, are they not? We kind of touched on it earlier with Ricky, and I've touched on it a little bit. And you're all smart people in the term, so I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Who can tell me what why is it so important to understand the difference between the four types of actors?
So you can predict what they're going to do.
Okay, well, that's a good one. What are some things that I could look at to see the differentiation between a hacktivist, an insider threat, or organized crime unit? What are some different things I could look at? You're not allowed to answer.
Possibly different targets.
Okay,
If you're
targeting.
a hacktivist of a certain thing, you're going to do more.
Okay.
I was going to say time and effort that they have.
Time and effort.
Yeah, and the resources they have available.
Okay.
Methodologies.
You're not allowed to answer.
Motivations.
Motivations. That's a good one. Okay,
What about the type of tools that they use? Obviously, some low-level guys are gonna be using scripts that can be found on the internet, whereas somebody a little higher tier, maybe some of the criminal actors or the nation-state actors are going to be using tools that they made on their own, ones that might not be picked up by antivirus software.
Yay, Stuxnet.
Right? There you go. All right. So some of the things that we offer is a different way of thinking. So again, we're going to harp on the fact that we got you geeks and keyboards, and they're going to think a certain way about a certain thing. And we're trying to reel them in and tell them, give me the information. They're like, look at the screen. I don't know what I'm looking at. Give me the code, give me the hash value, give me something that I can run somewhere else. Okay, so we provide a different way of thinking. Link analysis. Link analysis, if you've never done link analysis, is a very, very, very pretty way to paint a picture to your CEO, your head of information security, your commander, whatever, what have you. It's a really good way to go, okay, well, here's this router here, and you see it's got a big red X on it? Yeah, that's because they got it. It's theirs now. All right, the enemy got that one. All right, it's a really good way for us to show to the commander, without using so many words, our CEO, that via a picture on the screen says a lot, and that we can link one action or activity from a server to a router to a switch to out to the internet, wherever. Right. We also provide things like trying to get to that predictive analysis, a higher command level of view of how an incident, an investigation process, and approach works. And then my favorite one is battle tracking. We can, because we go to each individual person's station and ask the networking and system people what they're doing on their computers, we can track what's exactly going on during this battle, this cyber knife fight, as we like to call it. We can tell you at any given time. So if a commander comes around over me and goes, hey, I need to know what's going on right now because I've got somebody else asking me questions. We can go, well, here you go, sir. This is what we have for you. This is what's going on in networking right now. This is what's running on your snort rules right now. And this is what's helping aid in protection of your network infrastructure. And oh, by the way, we still have a hold of our SCADA right now, and we're working on it. We're able to give him a really quick overview of what's going on the battlefield without him having to go to each person and say, hey, I need to know what you're doing, and him have to piece it clear themselves. Next slide. All right. So this is the intelligence preparation of environment, should say, happens. The steps are pretty easy. I'm not going to insult your intelligence yet again and let you read those for yourself. Basically, as an analyst, we define all the things. We're gonna make sure we define all the things, analyze those things, and then give courses of action that we think an enemy may or may not take. Usually, we give most likely and most deadly, and from there, sometimes we'll give them at least likely just to give them a little shittles.
So, as you're thinking about this, and you're seeing this military jargon, and you're saying, man, what the hell? This doesn't make sense to me. I don't apply this. It's not a big deal. Can you change some of the words of what she's saying into what applies to you? So everybody wants to know what, why, where, when, and how, right? That's how we work as human beings, as professionals. We want to answer those for the boss because the boss is paying us to do a job. This is the preparation of that. It's how we get to those answers. So if you take the military jargon away from it, then you apply that to what it is you do in your own world. Now, maybe your job isn't that system administrator that cares about this. Maybe you're a level 1, whatever you call it. I've never worked this before, so I don't have a clue. But maybe you're the help desk guy, maybe you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever it is that your job is. And maybe you're just answering one of the questions. What I hope that you take away from what they're presenting is how this process could apply to you. What can you do to take away and say, hey, boss, you know what? I've got a new way of thinking about this. Or, hey, if I had this little bit of knowledge, Linux guy, Windows guy, IAM, whoever you are that has all the keys to the kingdom, if I had that nugget, I could say this or that, or maybe answer one of the 5 W's in H. I think this is valuable. And even though this class is generally targeted towards military people, because that's what we do, that's our business, it absolutely applies to you and your industry. Even if you're a hobbyist sitting at home and you're running Security Onion, God bless you, I hope you are. If you're not, please do. And you look at your stuff, you got all these alerts coming through, and you're like, what the hell is that? What do I do with that? I don't know what that means. Maybe you can go who, what, when, where, why, and how. If you can do that, you've answered the questions. Now you just got to figure out what the hell to do with it. So while it's jargon, it's still applicable to your business.
So just a pool of hands. I know we're talking a lot of, again, military. This is what we do. This is how we teach our traditional analysts and the cyber analysts. How many of you have thought tonight, and you don't have to hurt my feelings, so you don't have, I'm not worried about you hurting my feelings, so you don't have to raise your hand if you don't lie to me, okay? But raise your hand if you feel like you've pulled something away from this and you're going to think differently about threat actors coming across your network. Sir.
You better.
You better. All right, I really appreciate that. And like again, I said, I hope you didn't lie to me. Please, if you have anything else you want to talk to us about as far as threat actors go, we'll stick around for a while.
I'm waiting on getting this book, so if y'all win, give me that one.
But the point of all of this is I really wanted to bring you around to a different way of thinking in your environment, because a lot of you are not analysts. You sit on the keyboard and you do one specific operating system, you do one specific type of pulling logs, God, I love logs. And that's yeah, okay. And that's all you do, right? And that's what you sit on the computer for every day. Or you maybe you do, maybe you are that snort, squill and security onion bro guy that sits around and does all of the awesome cool geek stuff. More power to you. I'm not that person. But my goal is I hope I brought you around to a different way of thinking about how you're looking at your network. And if something is taking a trend, that usually means it's probably the same type of threat. It's probably the same type of actor, and you could do something to defend against that. Do we have time for me to show a quick, not really demo, but just a quick collaboration platform?
Yeah, please.
Okay, good with that?
Go ahead, please.
Is all mine?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay.
So what she's setting up is a lot of times, now I said this earlier, we are not advocates of selling products for people. That's not my job. I don't do that. Except steaks. Steaks, oh my God, except steaks. If you guys ever eat this place, you'll understand why we're so passionate. But what this is Hive IQ. I don't know how far she's going to go in it, but this is our platform that we use to take threat feeds, intelligence, indicators, and warnings, and we put it into a platform that we can seamlessly and easily view. Dashboard type stuff. It gives you a picture. It tells you all of the things you want to know about stuff. Clearly, it's not for free. There are some caveats with it, but it's not expensive either. It sure as hell is not as expensive as some of these SIEM products that you guys are using in the corporate world. But what this does for you is this aggregation of information. It gives you a common operating picture and a snapshot for your situational awareness.
It's a mess.
Or
Make it bigger.
Yes, command plus. All right. So when she goes through this, I want you to, if you have something that you use, keep using it. If you have a better way, keep using it. Okay, we're not advocating to run out and say, hey, CIO, buy this. That's not what we care about. This is our way. It is not the only way, and it may not even be the best way, but it's what we do. So she wants to show you how we do this in our world.
So this is specifically a analyst collaboration platform tool. You can go down so far as to, right now, the demo that I'm showing you is in the works to help do an upload for specifically, say, advanced ATP, advanced APT, advanced threat pulls out here is all of your information on PDF, and I just want to upload that into this. That is in a demo feed right now. I can't show you that because I don't have the licensing to, but it will do that. This machine does do this. It runs off of sticks and Taxi. It will integrate with your SIEM. Sure, that one. SIEM, i.e. like Carbon Black and all of your other really cool things that do that already. This integrates with that tool. This tool, while it is a competition with Anomaly, will also run with and alongside of Anomaly. And if you don't know what Anomaly is, it's another collaboration platform of analyzing threat trends. So they've done a lot of updating since the last time I've used the product, so I had to get in and get new with all this today. The feeds that are pulling in, we can't, the show more isn't clicking right now. I don't know why. I've got a dev team that's working on the fact that my show more will not click right now. But I text Steven and said it's not working. So the feeds that are pulling in right now, as you can see, I've got one coming up from wired.com. I've got one coming from zerodayinitiative.com. I've got malwarebytes.com pulling in. It has the ability to pull in feeds that are specific to you and your organization. With that, we also have a threat map, which means any of the threats that you and your teams are currently tracking, it highlights the map and it goes around every once in a while and it'll highlight red. Oh, that's where these things are happening. That's cool. It will also have an additional tab that shows you where the country in which this attack we may think is originating from, getting them to integrate that as of yesterday. Down below that, we have a word cloud. The bigger the word, the more often it's seen in a report. I'm sure you guys all know how word cloud works. I didn't tell you to click on anything.
I was trying to scroll down.
Word cloud made him
Swipe left. Swipe left.
3 fingers. Don't use more than. It's a Mac. Don't use more than 3 fingers.
I hate Mac.
All right, so today I was able to push in the carbon black thing that I spoke about. I pushed in carbon black, so if you'll click IR team tracker, the unprivileged user access carbon black sensor.
I clicked what you told me to.
Just focus driver's license. Okay, that's not, yeah, that's not it. That'd be cool. All right, so here it is.
Hey, I clicked what you told me to. Don't.
Here it is. All right, so this is one of the incidents that was pushed in. So cool enough, if I go into please work, relationships.
Live demos never work.
They never work. Live demos never work. Yes, it works. Okay, so today, oddly enough, see the unprivileged user access carbon black sensor? I didn't put that one in. I texted one of my dev team member guys and said, hey, I put in a carbon black vulnerabilities report. Can you go do some stuff with it? And they're like, cool, we'll add in an incident report to go with it. And then they added the relationship when you fill in the data on the actual form itself. And now it's linked in link diagram. Remember we talked about link diagrams? It does it for you. I'm so excited about that as an analyst. Some of you are not, but I am. So
Who's ever had to manually do a link diagram?
it does it, and it sucks, right? Okay, so it does it for you. So one of the cool, go back into details for me. So in the details, you're going to see all of the cool things about it. We use the traffic light protocol. Who in here does not know what the traffic light protocol is? Okay, so it's a method we use.
DHS.
Department of Homeland Security.
Yes. It's a method that we use in this system also to be able to determine how we're going to share out and who it's safe to share out to. So then we use the different phases where it happened, classification markings. We are at a very, very much unclassified level. This specific machine has, or this specific product does have the ability to go up to a TS-SCI level. It's in the works. We will pick the different types of the kill chain we talked about earlier where we're seeing this at. So if it's at the recon phase and we're just seeing some incidents on our, pulling incidents from our carbon black specifically. Yes. So on your reconnaissance phase, you'll see it in your IDS. All right, scroll down for me, please. Down back. All right, so this is where I wanted to get into this is who I can share this with is my sharing. So when you go in and you edit this file, part of the cool thing is it's like, oh, I need to know who I'm going to share this material with. So this one is set up for an exercise we did. What was the name of that exercise?
Cyber flag.
No, the one after that. That we did at the job. Like Prelude or something?
I don't know, maybe
Cyber pasta.
All the
Cyber pasta. Anyway, it's cyber pasta, which we're gonna call it for now. So we did a proof of concept for the SC kick, which is the South Carolina Cyber Information and something Center. Okay. So I did a proof of concept for them because it's run by DHS and they're trying to integrate cyber into DHS because they're not doing such a good job at it right now. So then we did this with SCANA and our South Carolina National Guard Joint Operations Center, and I had to figure out how am I going to be able to share reports that I get through DHS to these other people who are actually going to help us out with figuring out what this problem is. The point of this tool is not to give you an answer to the problem, necessarily. The point of this tool is not necessarily to give you, stop talking.
5 minutes.
No.
Wrap up in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. I can do that. The point of this tool is not necessarily to give you the answer, not to give you the shot, the code, not to give you the anything. It is literally, hey, we're seeing this on our network. Anybody else? What are you doing to help with this? Collaboration. Some of the biggest ways we learn is to get in groups and talk to each other.
ColaSec.
ColaSec, cool. Okay. Before I'm going to get you all to say cool, I swear.
That's great, but
Right.
we as people in the industry who are not in classified need more information than generally is provided.
Yes.
We get information from the FBI and Department of Homeland Security to educational institutions, and it's generally garbage.
Yes.
Yeah, we're seeing this.
So that's the point of this tool.
So responsible.
Right. The point of this tool is to help you be able to give more information. So, like, I don't necessarily need your specific IP address now, do I? but it helps that I know what is happening on your type of machine. This tool helps with that because you can narrow down who you share it to. So let's say, for instance, like I only want ColaSec members to see that I'm having these carbon black issues, and have you seen these yourself? I can specifically share those information to you. The purpose of that is to be able to correlate and collaborate information that needs to be shared with who it needs to be shared at the exact time it needs to be shared. And I get it. We get all the same feeds too. I get it. Sometimes you look at it, you go, "What the is this?" I got it. It sucks. But the point of this tool is to be able to use a small amount of obfuscation because you're only sharing with the people that you want to see it. So this tool would help with some of that. I'm not trying to pitch you a tool, by the way. This is just saying something we use. It is out there. I'm trying to get it out there to SC Cyber, which means it may make its way towards you. And I'm trying to get it out to some other people. SCANA's got a contract for it right now, and then our Cyber is doing this.
Council maybe
doing this. Okay, so that's a money thing. So that's the end of our presentation. I hope you enjoyed what we could give you tonight. Our biggest thing is feedback. If you have something that you want to tell us about this project that sucked, please let us know. If you want to tell us something about this project that was awesome, please let us know. The whole thing, the whole presentation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate all the information. It's a lot of good stuff. We are going to do some drawings. We're going to give away, did we say 4? 4 books tonight.
Yeah, let's do 4.
Well, good, because I just said it.
I meant 3. 2.5.
We appreciate everybody that came out tonight. I know folks are on. We're going to go to random.org or com or something and put in some numbers.
So I know a guy. So this is the Oasis. Please show this guy.
And we'll do these giveaways.
Nope, it's not random.org. What is it? Yes, it is.
Here, put this in the box.
So let me get the.
What's my first number?
Hang on.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on.
We're gonna add a few to the range real quick.
Have a good day.
That's noise. That's noise.
Say, you want to go through TLP, for example, and you want to validate
I need to mute my mic earlier. New issues.
The last number.
Last. Meaning highest?
The highest number is 268.
Oh, give me all of it. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
No. Do you want all of it?
No, that's fine. It doesn't matter. What's the lowest number?
You can actually customize. Right, so in addition to doing side boxes, because you had the lowest number 218. You had side boxes, and you had battery mic.
Working on it.
2.0, you're all in the same.
James,
right?
quit it. You're gonna mess the poor guy up.
The ability, for example, if you want to.
195.
All right, so 195 to 268, right?
All right, first drawing. 252.
That's me.
Ben.
Ben gives you. That's the exact level of course. You can even find your own vocabulary.
But you don't need it.
And find our object
Just kidding. Treats are always good.
Regift.
All right. Pick a book. Any book.
Oh,
In the box, too.
Or you can take one of these fine little flyers that was free to begin with. And if you win like 6 of them, you don't get all 6.
For implementations out there, along with item security, anomaly, looking glass.
You should take the book from Microsoft. That would be the best thing. Mr. Linux man. Oh! Took the Intel book. All right. Number 2. 212. Anyone? Bueller? Snooze, lose.
212 in the back. No? Okay.
Generate number 2 again. 258.
That's me.
Ben, give that ticket to somebody. Just randomly give that to
I got one. I'm good. Go ahead. Skip me.
227. All right. Kirk, what you want? You too might like this Microsoft book.
He's really trying to get rid of the Microsoft.
They're Linux guys.
Everyone's like,
They're the guys that come to the Linux group all the time.
This makes sense.
Giving this. And it is Windows 8, right?
Oh my God, you're lying. You're kidding.
It's early.
No,
right?
you're not.
So, right now, people are going to implement the anomaly. New context.
That way we just, if we pick it again, we don't.
Right.
Do it. Number 3.
But,
268.
but Jordan was next. He was on it.
Have we missed the event yet?
Anyway, I have a meeting about
No, it's this weekend.
It's this weekend.
what I spend it.
You should have announced.
These are our.
Well, I was excited until I learned that she wasn't actually going to be participating, and then I was like, oh well, because I just wanted to see her like knock some dude out that's like 6'6".
Okay, can I come more?
In full metal armor with a mace.
Okay, you have brothers?
No, she competes in full contact.
Medieval fighting.
Talk about not judging book by its cover.
And that's the patch from.
There are videos out there. We've watched videos of her in France beating the hell out of
Nice. Spain.
Spain. Sorry.
All right, ready for the last one?
Ready for the last one. 256.
Probably Ben again.
Not Ben. Roll it again. 211.
Who was that?
211.
11? So we
211.
had 212. Sorry. That's last. Is that last one we go?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm shutting down.
Pick a book, any book. Don't forget, there are discount cards up here for foodstuffs.